2020 has been a tough year for full-time education. OneYearMBA.co.in's Learning Unlock series aims to connect with the top B schools around the world and discover how they are responding to the challenge, their plans for reopening campuses once the pandemic subsides, and we want to discover how full-time education will look in a post-COVID world. I am joined today by Professor Rajesh Agarwal, Chairperson of the one-year full-time MBA course at IIM Udaipur. Thank you, Professor Agarwal, for joining us today. It's wonderful to get IIM Udaipur's perspective on the pandemic that we are all facing. And I'm hoping that today's discussion will be helpful for students who are in a difficult space at the moment trying to figure out the next steps. Let me start off by asking you that 2020 has been a tough year for everybody. We are all responding to the crisis in our own ways. How has the IIM Udaipur community responded to this challenge?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to IIM Udaipur to interact with you and through your medium to the prospective candidates, because these conversations, I believe, can help them make an informed choice about their future. As far as IIM Udaipur is concerned, in the way we responded to the challenge of the pandemic, of course, when the pandemic had broken, we had, all of us were taken by a surprise, but then the idea was to not have a knee-jerk reaction, but respond to it in a very calm and composed manner. And the one thing that we decided internally helped us deal with it in a very professional, in a meaningful manner. And the thing that we decided is that we shall do or take all those steps which are necessary to promote the overall best interest of the students in these times. Because the students are putting significant amount of time and resources to pursue these courses. So it's important that whatever we do should promote their best interest. Having said that, the situation of pandemic is an extraordinary situation, happens once in a century or even longer. So our response should also be extraordinary. And in that sense, I'm happy to say that our faculty, administration, staff, all of them come together to respond to this in a manner that the learning outcomes and the learning experience of the students are not compromised to the best of our ability. It is natural for the students to be concerned about the quality of learning and placements. And so what we did was we continued to be engaged with them on a regular basis, because the program was to begin sometime early April. And we decided to postpone the program for a couple of months so that everybody settles down. And during these 2 months period, we were very regularly engaged with them and extending to them preparatory management courses before their actual courses could have started online. We also extended to them electronic books so that they could be reading and they could be very well engaged. Having said that, we also did allow them the benefit of deferring the admission to the next academic year, or some people wanted to get the fee refunded, we refunded the fee. So, in a nutshell, if I could say that, we wanted to ensure that the learning outcomes of the participants are not compromised. And I'm glad to say that now that the first term is over, I think looking back, I think we did a very reasonable and a decent job of managing the situation.
Great. So that is extremely nice that you gave a deferral option to a lot of students. I think that's very proactive on IIM Udaipur's part. This is the first time I'm hearing of a B school. Maybe others are doing it, but it's great to hear that IIM Udaipur is offering that. Now, you talked about certain concerns coming from the students in this environment. What kind of concerns are students sharing, and what are you doing to sort of assuage that? I know we don't have perfect answers to the issue right now, but what are the concerns being raised, and what are your sort of solutions that you're able to offer at this juncture?
Right. So the concerns were largely to do with the learning experience and learning outcomes. And so let me take a couple of minutes to talk to you about the online learning and how we were adapting and how we were able to address their concerns. So actually, almost all academic institutions globally had to quickly adapt to the online teaching and learning mode. And the biggest barrier to my mind has not so much been the technology issue, but the mindset issue. Uh, I can recall a similar mental block to the idea of computerization 3, 4 decades ago, where people were just not willing to, accept computerization. So, the students and the faculty, if they start with the position that it is going to be ineffective and the learning quality will be compromised, then it's very hard. Because actually speaking, in my experience and in the experience of all the colleagues who have taught in the first term, it is not so. Actually, we start with the idea that, okay, the classroom experience will not be the same. There is no whiteboard. The classroom atmosphere is not there. The faculty cannot see the body language of the participants. So, how do we bring the experience any close to what it is like in the real life situation? So, in fact, technology offers us the power to leverage, very many things. And leveraging the power of technology, we have been able to do very many things in the classroom, which brings it very close to the on-campus experience. For example, me give an example. We use Microsoft OneNote to be able to, with the help of an iPad, the faculty members would write as if they're writing in the classroom. And I was teaching a course on finance and accounting. It did not limit my ability to write as much as I would have wanted to write on the whiteboard. And I could have moved the OneNote vertically, horizontally, whichever manner. And as a result, the students realize that they are able to learn as much as they would have learned on-campus situation. So I would say that while the experience of the online is not the same as on campus, but it is very close. And most of the faculty members felt that the learning experience of the students in the online format was very good.
All right. So what has been the response of students to online learning? How are they adapting to this, and how are they sort of picking up skills to manage with this kind of learning?
So talking with the students, as I said, they started with the position of the mental block, majority of them. And that is where our continuous engagement with them and communicating to them that, we are getting ready in a very comprehensive way. To tell you a little bit more about it, we had a training for faculty members on how to teach online during those 2 months. So all our faculty members who taught online underwent training. They underwent training on how to handle Zoom. They underwent training on how to use iPad and other devices alongside Zoom so that the quality of experience can be maximized. So I must admit that the mental block was not only with the students, but also with the faculty members. And both sets of groups of students and the faculty realized that it is turning out to be very good. So I must say that initial couple of weeks, there was a mental block, but very quickly they realized that nothing is getting compromised. And at the end of it all, everything worked out very well.
Okay, that's really encouraging that students didn't take too much time to accept and get going with this mode of learning. Now, you talked about training the faculty. You talked about certain changes that were required in terms of picking up new tools. Now, when it comes to the curriculum and the pedagogy, were there any changes introduced there, or do you think it adapted well to the online teaching mode?
So as far as pedagogical changes are required, if the online learning would have posed some real problem, then pedagogical changes would have been really called for. As we realized in the initial few weeks that it is not exactly posing a real challenge, most of the faculty members went ahead with what was originally planned. For example, let me give example of my own classes. I teach using case method of teaching. That calls for significant level of participation from the students. And I realized that the level of participation during online was not less. So that didn't have any issue on my quality of teaching, and I didn't have to make any mid-course correction with respect to the pedagogy. As far as the project work is concerned, many faculty members use project work, and students could do it over Google Teams or any other platform that they liked, and they could continue to engage themselves in such groups and could still do the project work. So I don't think that any major change was required in the pedagogy, because, as I said, online did not pose the challenge that people were fearing it will pose.
That is really heartwarming to hear that online is getting accepted and it's not such a big challenge. So because we don't know how long the situation is going to last, and so I think that will assuage a lot of concerns for students. Now, students are making the best of the situation as faculty are adapting. Everybody's adapting. But coming to brass tacks, there is the real issue of recruitment at the end of this particular cycle. Do you think recruiters are going to be as accepting of students who have come through online learning as they are of full-time learning, students who have undertaken full-time learning?
Right. That's a very good question. And I think it concerns students as well as the faculty, as well as the industry. So everybody is, conscious about it. And that's the reason what we have done and what we have communicated to the industry is this, that when they are recruiting a participant from an IIM, there is a promise of quality and trust. So we cannot go ahead and say to the industry that here is a batch of 2020-21, which was hit because of pandemic. So these students are not as capable as otherwise. That would be a huge breach of trust, which neither IIMs can afford nor the participants can afford. So in that spirit, what we have done, as I said, making sure that the quality of learning is never compromised. Now, how do we know that the quality is not compromised? The way we know that the quality is not compromised is through continuous evaluation. So for example, if I teach a particular course this year vis-a-vis last year, I am going to set up an exam of similar difficulty level. And if I realize that the participants have done equally good in this year, then I know that they have learned the concept that they were supposed to learn. And so all the faculty members who taught in the first term have not compromised at all in, as I said, either in terms of the coverage of the course or the depth of the course, or for that matter in the evaluation. So we know for sure that the participants who are learning the COPS concepts are actually learning them. And that is what gives us the confidence that they will come out very well during the placement interview process. And I'm sure industry would be very keen to know that whether there's any compromise. As I said, we cannot afford to do that. I would also like to mention a couple of things here that, we are very fortunate that in the 2 one-year MBA programs we run, one on digital enterprise management and the other one on global supply chain management, we have done a unique thing in these 2 programs. Unlike many other institutions, we have an advisory board for both these programs. And this advisory board consists of very senior professionals, the CFOs and the CEOs and chief technology officers from the industry. And this advisory board regularly guides us on the program design, focus, content, delivery, learning, and the whole host of things. So, we have been in regular touch with them, more so during this pandemic period, to understand what all needs to happen before we present these graduates late this year or early next year for placement. And so our interaction with the potential recruiters tells us that they would be comfortable recruiting this year as much as they have been in the previous years, simply because they believe us and they trust us that we will not be presenting to them people who are not ready. So that is where the promise to industry comes into the picture.
Yes, IIMs do have a certain standard, and keeping that standard flying and met in this difficult year is great. There are certain soft skills that I remember from my learning at IIM Indore, which I picked up, which I was not ready for, pre-MBA. Certain skills which came from understanding group dynamics, how people interact in large groups, group think, how decisions get made, and how you need to be maybe diplomatic to get your vision through. These are skills which really come through when you're interacting in a set of people. And you talked about Google Meets and doing that kind of collaboration online. Do you think this is something that you're able to manage in inculcating this in students? Are there any HR exercises or any team building exercises that you are undertaking to get these kind of skills to these students in this year?
So I'm very glad that you asked this question. In fact, we believe, and from our experience of engaging with the industry, and I'm sure you would agree with my proposition that the real success in the industrial life, in the corporate life, is not only a function of the depth of the knowledge of conceptual knowledge of the functional area subjects such as finance, marketing, operation, research, etc., but soft skill and people skill. And a lot of the times people are not very good at that. And in particular, because most of our participants come from technical engineering background, that's the reality of most business institutions in the country. So what we have started this year in particular to be able to respond to the question that you asked of inculcating soft skill among the participants, we have taken a serious exercise right from the beginning of the first term. And that is done at 2 levels of coaching. So what we are doing in that coaching is basically we are putting a lot of emphasis on people to understand themselves, understanding self. Then focusing on how learning actually takes place. Then we are also talking to them and trying to help them understand what are their real strengths and what are their career goals, and whether their career goals are aligned to their strengths or not. Many times people choose career or functional area, objectives in their career, which is not aligned to their capabilities, and then they realize they're a misfit. So we are helping them do this over the entire 1 year rather than waiting to be done towards the end of the course. And as a result, they are feeling much more confident to be able to make those choices, to face interviews when it comes to placement season. For example, the mentors we have are already doing mock coaching and mock interviews with them throughout this first term. So I'm very happy to say that these students are feeling that much more confident about making the right set of choices and also choosing a particular function which is aligned with their skill sets. And I think these coaching sessions are also helping them become much more resilient, because resilience is one skill set I think all corporate leaders have to have going forward, more so than they needed that in the past. Because this pandemic is teaching that one lesson, that everybody has to be resilient and has to have the ability to deal with uncertainties that one is going to find on the way. So we are doing that very, very seriously. And I think that would be our distinguishing feature going forward.
Yeah, resilience, I think, is going to be very, very important. And it is a core skill. I'm going to push you there just slightly more. What I wanted to also understand is about stuff like diplomacy. All right. Like you talked about people coming from IT, and most of the IT guys are individual contributors. And in a typical business environment, in a business school environment, they get to appreciate the other's perspective. They learn that it's not just their own viewpoint that matters. Right. That is that going to be slightly tough to sort of build in an online environment, or are you able to manage that also?
Right. So it's again a very good question that you ask. See, the tendency of the participants when they come to the campus is to stick with what is familiar. So a person from North India would stick with a North Indian friend, a person from South India would stick with South Indian friend. And then we communicate to them that you lose out on a great opportunity to be friends with, to be partners with somebody who is not like you. So we encourage them to, in fact, while making their groups for study groups and a variety of project work, we try and make sure that we make such groups as diverse as possible. When I say diverse, I mean diverse in terms of gender, diverse in terms of skill sets, diverse in terms of their backgrounds, diverse in terms of the geographies they come from. As a result, over the entire 1 year period, hopefully, they are able to appreciate the viewpoints of others and learn to deal with those differences over those 1 year period. Because I'm sure when they begin, they don't know how to deal with these differences. And as you said, sometimes they may not be very diplomatic. In the corporate career, these days, more so than in the past, managers have to work in teams. It is not individual performance that counts. That certainly counts, but your team performance counts perhaps sometimes more than your individual performance. So how do you become a good team player is so critical. And sometimes people are individually great, but together a disaster. So how do we promote teamwork and team learning is also a part of the learning of this 1 year program. And how do we do that is consciously designing teams which are very diverse. And the diplomacy skill, ability to listen to others' ideas, ability to agree and disagree respectfully is all those skills that go into those study groups, which I think over a period of time, they learn to appreciate the viewpoint of the others. And hopefully then, develops your perspective, which is bigger than your own. And I hope that we do that well.
Great. I think that's an often overlooked area, soft skills, diplomacy, all these other things which are really important in your career. I know I can't ask you to gaze into a crystal ball and tell us how the future is going to look, but do you have any sort of feelers about how the campus may look once it reopens? How will the hostel look? What are you expecting once things are back?
Right. So during the pandemic itself, we went ahead and allowed those students who had great challenges at home in terms of connectivity, or the home environment was not conducive because of any reason. So on a selective basis, we have allowed some students to come and stay on campus so that they don't have to deal with those challenges. Going forward, when we get the permission to start the classes on campus, I believe that it will turn to normal in the sense how it was. Having said that, the pandemic has taught us that we should not give up the learnings of online teaching, and in some measure we would like to continue to use this expertise and maybe have few sessions online for the students and the faculty to keep this strength going and not drop out and not lose this experience. But I think once the pandemic settles down, which I hope it does soon, then we shall be going back to the on-campus experience.
Okay. We all look for a bright spot in the deep black tunnel that we are in. And without sounding like, trying to put a positive spin on things, do you think there's anything that we are learning from this entire experience that maybe we won't learn in a normal environment? What are the good positive takeaways that students can look forward to? Any thoughts on that? Like, for instance, I think that the world has moved online completely, and collaboration is going to be more and more online. You will be working with teams in the US and Europe. And so gaining skills which allow you to be in touch with other people and being effective while collaborating online is an excellent outcome from this entire thing. Any other positive that you're seeing in this pandemic?
So I think there are some obvious positives and there are some attitudinal positives. In fact, yesterday itself, we were having a conversation with the entire group, and reflecting on, how the term went, the first term online went, and what were the learnings. And so many of the participants articulated the fact that how worried they were before starting online, how they were mentally completely blocked to the idea of online, how there were notions about online which were already pre-written or based on hearsays, and they never ever even wanted to experience a single session of online. And that's where the pushback early April to keep postponing the program till things get better. So there were a lot of learning, in fact, I think that we have. This pandemic has taught not only, I would say, the students, but also the institutions, the faculty members. It would be inappropriate for us to say that the students only had the mental block, as I mentioned a while ago. Also, the faculty members had a huge mental block in terms of not approaching the online with as much positivity. And as I said, that the huge gain that we see, that, it is, I think, attitudinal gain in terms of, unless you really try things out, do not conclude that something is not going to work. Dealing with uncertainty, dealing with uncertain situation, leveraging on the power of technology, leveraging on the power of digital, which was already on its way, but that entire process of adopting it, with full support will get hastened up in the days to come. In managerial life, in educational institution, in people's own work. And so I think, and as I said, the biggest of all is the resilience and the ability to bounce back. So I think now I'm very happy to say that the entire group is very positive. So for example, while there was concern of learning outcome, they realized that the learning outcome has happened, there's not compromise, they're, of course, on campus, they would have felt better if their friends were here on campus, but they feel that they've learned a good deal and learned as much. Likewise, the whole issue of placement. So we said, okay, you learn from this experience of positivity, and how can you make the placement also a great experience? Can you approach this whole issue of placement with a lot of positivity rather than to say, oh my God, what's going to happen in this placement time? So I think the whole batch is very excited. And I think what we are trying to tell them is, we are not trying to tell them these life lessons or whatever. We are asking them to reflect on their own positions, own experiences, and come out with the learning, which I think they are. And I completely agree with you that going forward, there are many positive lessons that we all learn out of this pandemic, which are going to stay with them. It will be so sad if we lose out on the learnings of this pandemic and then not build on those going forward in terms of improving efficiency and in being able to do things which otherwise we couldn't have done. These days, nobody is expecting to have a face-to-face conversation. Zoom call is acceptable way of doing things. And as one would agree that the quality of conversation is not compromised, ability to ask questions is not compromised, developing understanding about an issue is not compromised. So we suddenly feel much more connected than we were thinking about it in the past. So I think we are going to leverage consciously all those learnings in our programs, in our thinking, likewise for the students.
Okay, great. There are certain positives to this entire fiasco that we are facing. Okay, my last question to you is that the good thing about talking to the IIMs is that you get a real picture. You're getting something that will be positive for the students as well as for it's not a one-sided perspective. It's a responsible, mature perspective. What would you say to a student who's hearing us right now and is sitting on the fence, thinking about how to proceed? What in a nutshell is your advice to him or her?
Okay, it's a good question, very good question. So I would say that if a prospective candidate wants to pursue an MBA education or not, that's the real issue. Once somebody has decided that pursuing an MBA makes sense for his or her career goals, the timing of it is not the real issue. So if MBA is something that aligns with one's life goals, my suggestion would be to go ahead and pursue it. For prospective candidates, which are very valid, is twofold. One is with respect to quality of learning, and the other is placements, right? As I said a while ago, quality of learning wise, based on the experience, I can say it is not compromised. More so, the next batch would be joining somewhere around next, May or whatever, June, depending on the institution. By that time, one would hope that situation would settle down and we shall have the permission to conduct classes on campus. As far as placements are concerned, we were talking about placements beginning 2022 April or March, right? Around that time. And by that time, looking at the experiences of previous pandemics, they settle down. And then there will be upturn in the economy in terms of recovery, and they will be well placed to get the jobs that they are dreaming for. So I would believe that it may be a worthwhile idea to pursue the MBA program for the next academic year. If at all there is a concern and there is a risk of placements, etc., that's much bigger perhaps in this academic year compared to the next academic year. So I would say, I would urge them to, go ahead and pursue and not wait any longer, because that may not be very helpful.
Yeah, I think this is a point that I'm hearing, and I think it makes a lot of sense that this is a lifelong decision. This is a point that you shared. A lot of other B schools have also brought this point forward, that it's a long-term plan. An MBA is not a flash in the pan. It's not a one thing that you do, and just. So if you plan for an MBA, I think that's what Professor Agarwal is saying. If you plan for an MBA, stay on track. Understand that this is something that does happen. There are cycles that happen, economic cycles, and pandemic is similar to that. So don't go off track. Stay true to your vision for your life and your career, and try and make the leap right now. Thanks, Professor Agarwal, for joining us. I'm sure this discussion has been helpful and will be helpful to many who are deciding on an MBA. Thank you, and I wish IIM Udaipur the best for what's coming this year.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I wish all those participants who are listening to this, interview, they take the right decision in their best interest, and all the best to them. Thank you.